Hydreigon is one of these cards that fascinates me because it has so many good things going for it, but it does seem a little too out of reach to make work. But that doesn't mean that a few people have had success with it. As we've seen at a lot of regionals, there's usually one person who is able to make Day 2 with Hydreigon at the very least. And so it has me interested in checking out a couple of these lists as we look to explore this card possibly a bit more. And I really like this list that was played by Nettie Kosek at EUIC because it trims down all the fat and all the, like, I guess, quote-unquote, unnecessary pieces to keep it as consistent as you possibly get it. There's 2 TM Evos here that help you set up your board state, as well as all of your consistency cards like Radiant Greninja, Pidgeot, Lumineon, Rotom, Fez, and Pecharunt. You're really not slouching here. And even though this list doesn't have a bunch of cards that I would like to include, like an Airy or a Binding Mochi, for example, or even a different stadium in general, I do think that having this as a base to work off of is really nice. So if you're interested in Hydreigon, I would play with this list, not necessarily to keep in mind that this is the list you're going to stick to, but use this as a framework to base the rest of your deck around. Because if you're looking at a few other of the Hydreigon decks, like let's just look at Tate's list here. This deck is very complicated. It has a lot of moving pieces going on with the 1-1 lines everywhere, with the less consistency cards as they don't have a Lumineon or Radiant Greninja, and they have less Pokemon in general. And they just have so many 1-ups here that I think makes it really hard to recommend this to somebody who wants to play Hydreigon. So I really like the simplicity of a list like this. There's a couple cards in here, like I said, I'd like to run an Airy and a Binding Mochi if I was going to play this deck even further, but I think it's cool. And I think it's cool that there's somebody out there always repping Hydreigon at every event. I played this deck and made it to, Arceus rank. Woo. Probably a bit late on that, but it is there. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the deck and the video, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe. And I am doing a giveaway for a Paldean Fates Shiny Mew EX. So if you would like to join that giveaway, comment down on this video or one of my other videos from this week. And then also go to my community post, my most recent one, and add a comment there too. If you comment on both one of my videos and on the community post, you'll be entered into the raffle, and I will be doing that on Saturday. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed the matches. Alrighty, and game started. We're gonna have a game that is gonna look very familiar. I feel like I keep playing against a Feraligatr deck in every single one of these videos. The deck is just really catching on. That's it. I know people love their single prizers, and they love to see like an underdog deck like this succeed. Unfortunately, I don't remember if I even got to choose whether or not I got to go first or second in any of these games. I think I'm defaulting to going second because we are a Team Evo deck, and so that's just what makes the most amount of sense to me. But why would we be allowed to do that when our opponent could instead go for their own Team Evo instead? It just makes sense to me. So I'm stuck here with nothing to do on turn 1 besides attach energy to Fez, which honestly isn't the worst thing in the world, because I'm still going to be able to attach an energy to my Deino after I get this Buddy Poffin. I'll stay Iono, in which case that's up. But no, they play the Arven this turn. I'm just being insane. And we're also playing the Mylonic version, which is a little bit annoying. Because the Mylonic, I can simply no longer just win off the Hydreigon. I will simply have to win off the Hydreigon mill instead. Joking aside, like, the Mylonic, like, technically isn't the scariest thing I can be facing down. Only because, one, I have Pecharunt in the back, so if they ever do take enough prizes against me, Pecharunt could possibly just blow it up, which could be really good. Also, I, like, panic, because, like, did I only select one Pokemon for Team Evolution? That would have been done. But also, like, if they go through enough of their deck, I could just mill 3 cards every turn. And, you know, they're not a very fast deck, so they can't pressure me faster than I can set up my field. Granted, one of my Zweilous is prized, and we only do own 2 copies of Rare Candy, but I still think it's very likely that we could go ahead and get everything set up in time. And, that's good. Also, this is one of the good, like, this is one of your better matchups, too, because you have the Pecharunt in the deck, which prevents them from ever Big Bite locking you in the first place, so there's just nothing that they can really do. I'm gonna go ahead and rip the research of losing one of my rare candies, which does suck, especially if they end up playing a TM Evo or TM Diva down the line. But with my double Night Stretcher, I'm not extremely worried about it. I think I kind of choke here. I don't really know what they're grabbing here, honestly. I know I have a quick search available to me, but there's just not a whole lot I need. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the rare candy, because it can be nice for establishing my next Hydreigon as early as possible, because I like to be able to just set as many Pokemon as possible and not have to worry about the rest of the game, right? Just leave it in my opponent's hands. Alternatively, because this seems to be a strictly post-rotation deck that they are playing, it is unlikely that they have Manaphy. Therefore, I might just go crazy with the Obsidian. Especially, oh my goodness. Sure, 4 threats, who cares? That's not real. Regardless. I could just go ahead and Obsidian pass along these guys, especially that he put a Luxurious Cape on one of his dudes. Like, I don't know what your line of thought of that was, because now I have 5 prizes on the bench, and I don't even have to go through Milotic. You know, I thought it'd be way funnier if I just milled them every single turn of the game, and then got rid of their whole deck. But, I mean, this works too. I do have Lost Vacuum, which I do actually end up considering using, because it could just, you know, take the Feraligatr out. But they did have a Monkey Dory setup, so they could just remove all the damage off with the Torrential Heart. Which is why I'm going to go ahead and target down the Monkey Dories. Because my opponent has any sort of out in this game, it is some random amount of Monkey Dory damage screwing me over. So I just want to get rid of those as much as possible, while my opponent still has to slowly set everything else up here. The Feraligatr actually having the Luxurious Cape helps me out here quite a bit, because I'm staying on a boss's orders, and I don't want to be hit by Hypnoblast and have to deal with fucking coin flips from the sleep. So I'm just going to go ahead and boss up this Feraligatr here, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it. That's the best part. The only thing that does kind of, you know, is a bit weird here is the fact that they can go ahead and like flip turn out, which is fine because I still have Obsidian available to me. I should have maybe considered that with the Relicanth, but as long as they're not putting me to sleep, like, I think I'm fine in any circumstance, which is why, you know, nothing is really going to happen here. I'm going to be able to take multiple knockouts for free. And that's going to very easily end this game for my opponent here. That's it. They do put on the Luxurious Cape on the Relicanth then back, which is a little bit scary. But we have the Lost Vacuum. We have the pre-rotation technology here coming in clutch, allowing us to take down the Luxurious Cape. I do think one stadium that I could not figure out what the use for it was the Gravity Mountain. Like, I for the life of me could not figure out why we were playing this card in our deck, because Obsidian plus the Crashing Headbutt should be enough to knock out every stage 2 Pokemon. So it's just like, why this stage specifically? Doesn't it hurt us more than anything? I think if I was going to replace it with a different stadium, I'd probably replace it with like Pokemon League headquarters to slow down a lot of the basic aggro decks, for example. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. Also, my opponent drops a shit ton of energies and a Carmine onto the field, and now I'm really pondering, like, what are we doing here? There's no Buffalot. Like, what crazy insanity is my opponent playing? And they show off the Ho-V is like, oh, you know what? Sure, you can have this. This is kind of a cool combo, because the Ho-V can get the Buster of the Buffalot, I guess. And it probably works well with, like, the Terrapico shell. So, I mean, you do you, buddy. That seems cool. I'm going to start here with the fucking fish, which is awful for me. But this hand isn't the worst. What sucks about it is I don't think I have an easy way of actually accessing, like, a Buddy Poffin or anything right now. So I have to choose between setting up a Deino or setting up a Pidgey with just my Nest Ball currently. The Ultra Ball is still on the table. I just haven't figured out exactly how I want to use that Ultra Ball. But I know the Nest Ball probably has to grab me the Deino, which is the sad reality, right? I have to set up my attacker, otherwise my opponent just keeps putting offensive pressure against me. I'm just going to end up losing the whole match because of it. And thankfully, to make matters a little bit better, we do actually get the Hydreigon here. Also, I lied. We always fucking gamble on the Greninja draw. What am I, fucking stupid? And then we even get the Rotom to compensate for it, which means I am passing on the Deino for a turn. But honestly, not the worst case scenario here. We have the Earthen Vessel that could get us rolling with the crashing headbutts, and then we can also go ahead and grab like a Forest Heal Stone to use down the line as well. So it's not the worst situation in the world, despite my opponent, taking a knockout here. I also do notice that they're playing a Switch card in their deck, which means they're not playing a Latias EX, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I figured you would just rather play the Latias EX if you had it, but maybe it's a of lack of foresight on my opponent's deck building here. Regardless, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a few energies, use Radiant Greninja to draw some cards, maybe hit a candy, and if not, we can hit something else, and then realize that my Force Heal's in his prize, so we're all just screwed regardless. I do want to put down the Gravity Mountain to bump the stadium, but this is why I'm why do we have this card in our deck? I also milled 2 Pokestops, which is probably the most absurd find out of all of this, is that they're dual running Pokestop at Area 0. And I'd say the only reason it's really absurd is because those are built stadiums that you build your entire deck around. You have to build your deck around the Pokestop being really good, and then if you are doing that, you want the Pokestop play for the most part. Same thing with the Area 0, where if you're playing the Area 0, you mostly want it in play for the most part. So I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Thankfully, though, it does seem that they don't have a whole lot going on their side of the field. At the very least, it's going to take them a full another turn to actually get another Ho-Oh down, because it does end your turn when you use the ability. But yeah. And then they're going to overcommit even more energies onto my Hydreigon here, and still not be able to get a knockout on hit. But I don't know if I've ever seen this many energies of different types on one Pokemon before, so we get to see the fancy weirdo symbol right to the right of the fighting type symbol. Never seen it before, but it was, definitely interesting, I guess. And now, I'm still not in a great spot here, because I have nothing going for me. There's even a small consideration in the back of my head where I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should go ahead and not use a Guardian Headbutt and drop 3 cards, but that was really stupid. I needed to kill the threat in front of me. And now, looking at my opponent's board state, you might notice something. 1 is the lack of attackers that are ready. And 2 is the fact that I just milled a couple Glass Trumpets. 3 is that they have 2 cards in their deck. Which means that we are in a solid spot to just mill the rest of their deck out, which is quite honestly very amusing. They are going to go ahead and knock out my Hydreigon here, but even with that done, I still have the opportunity to send a Deino, for example, and just mill them. I also just have to make sure that I can't lose my Rotom this turn. So we are going to focus on trying to grab 8 Boss's Orders if possible, though we do have 1 in our hand, so I guess it's a bit silly. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Nest Ball to the Fez, mostly because there's nothing else I want to Nest Ball out. And I'm just going to go ahead and boss up the Muffalot. The analysis earlier that I said that they didn't have a Latias EX in their deck kind of comes into play here, because it's the whole reasoning behind this play. If they have a Latias EX, I could just lose still, because they could have a Boss's Orders and then just kill my Rotom or my Fez. But since they don't have a Latias EX, they can't really swap out here, and then they're just going to lose. And, it's quite a silly way to lose, as I'm just going to go ahead, grab a Dark Patch, and use my Pecharunt to stomp off and mill 1 card from their deck. Wouldn't be the game. Not the way I expected to win this match, but it surely is the way that we finished the match. Anyways, now we're going against a guy with, I think this is the Latin America special playmat, or not playmat, but sleeves and coin. I'm not exactly sure where that coin is from, but it's definitely exclusive, which means my opponent is a foreign competitor, or at least travels abroad, which is kind of scary, because on life, you're not hitting the best players for the most part. So to actually find somebody who's somewhat confident at the game is more rare than you probably want to believe. And my opponent seems to be playing Raging Bolt as well here. And it's a dead giveaway as soon as they put down, as soon as they put down the Fighting Energy and then put down the Raging Bolt afterwards. Like I said, it doesn't look like they're off to the best start here, only ramping 1 energy down. And they're about to discard a hand of 7 too, which is not great for them on their end. My hand, on the other hand, is almost okay. I'm like one rare candy away from greatness here, and I can't get it with a Lumineon into an Arven, and then hope the Forest Seal Stone also gets me there. But Reachable is not exactly the matchup I really want to be seeing. This is one of those matchups where the what's it called? The Pokemon League City headquarters, whatever it's called, could be helpful here for just delaying your opponent's attacking. This also goes back to what I was mentioning, that I never got to choose whether or not I wanted to go first or second here. Kind of biting me in the ass, because I've been wanting to go second this entire time, and everyone just keeps making me go first. And there's nothing I can do about it. I am going to go ahead and send in the Deino, completely and boldly, all those fancy words or whatever, that I will most definitely hit everything I need this turn. Not even saying the Luminion's prize, just a free balling it. Because the Luminion's prize, I just concede to go on to the next game. It's as simple as that. I'm gonna go ahead and just grab my rare candy and probably my Forest Seal Stone to get me rolling. Thankfully, we have double energies on the Deino already, which is gonna allow me to pretty safely set up here. As we are going to rare candy into the other guy. And what I really want to do here is set up another Deino onto the bench, because I really have to, get the other guys rolling, especially because we've used both our rare candies already. So these next two guys have to slow evolve, which is really, really dangerous. I wonder if there's a world where you ever get a good Obsidian into this matchup. It's kind of hard to justify, because the Ogre Pods are immune to Obsidian, right? So you have to go through explicitly, Raging Bolt, and you can only essentially quote-unquote guarantee you're going to hit Obsidian on one Hydreigon. Gain Obsidian twice in one match sounds really, really impossible, which is why this matchup is probably so hard. It's one of the reasons that I want a Binding Mochi in the deck, because the Binding Mochi would allow you to very easily knock out the Raging Bolts in this place. But yeah, we are working off what we have so far. And they even put that in Pokestop and start milling a bunch. Thankfully, they're already down a bunch of Professor Sonas here, which is really good for me. It's not, completely over, but even if they hit a Sonas, they'd only be attaching one energy, not even two, which is, good value for me on my end, at least. And they're already through most of their deck. So the Crashing Headbutt is going to be putting in some actual, threat range soon. Which is very funny, because I did not expect the way that I was going to get to Arceus rank this month was by milling my opponent in a, not even a dedicated mill deck. It just happened to be milling people. This is why I like the cards like the Airy, for example, because the Airy plays into that hand disruption strategy where you're trying to pick away, your opponent's pieces from actually, finishing the game, and which is why we see this here. Because now my opponent's just stuck in a really shitty spot, and they can't do a whole lot about it. I am going to go ahead and look for a supporter to play this turn, I think. Or I'm just going to go ahead and go for Obsidian, which might be a little silly. I don't know. I'd never go for Obsidian here. That'd be bad. Why would I do that? I did consider using the Iono here, but knowing my opponent has not played in Professor Sonas already, I don't want to draw them into a potential Sonas, and so I end up, hitting one off of that, as well as hitting two energy retrievals, knocking away a couple ways that my opponent can keep going in the game and sustaining, their knockout potential. If I actually nail enough of their Night Stretchers and energy retrievals, then there's a chance they just, simply don't get to play the game anymore, which would be super solid for me. I think my placement of the Neo Upper Energy is a little mismanaged, by the way. I think it should have maybe gone on to the other Deino, because it just feels like it's now the other Deino's going to take a while to set up. But I don't know, it's just not, it's just not the easy choice, I guess. That said, I don't really think I made the wrong choice here. I think it's just a little bit awkward, because I really don't intend to go for the second attack in this matchup. With my opponent having 6 cards left in their deck, I really don't intend on doing anything else but milling the fuck out of them. And as they burn a bunch of energies in place now, I have nothing left to do but to basically pray and panic. I know that they've, been shuffling Sonas back into their deck the whole game, and so I think that my best course of action right now would be to disrupt their hand. Saying as you can only play one support every turn, I have to guess that they have some Sonas in their hand currently. And if that's the case, then I need to deny them as much as possible for being able to set up. So even though the Iono puts more cards in their deck, this allows me to stay safer while I'm trying to whack away their pieces. Because if I can get rid of enough energy here, then I remove their chance from coming back in the game entirely. And I nail a switch card there and lightning energy as well, which is extremely good for me. Unfortunately, they do have one Sonic, but they still can't do anything currently. And so they need a way to swap out. And they're back at 6 cards in the deck, which is really, really good for me. This is kind of where the energy on my, or the Neo Upper Energy of my Hydreigon comes into play, because there's technically now a chance I could win with Obsidian. What I would have to do is like boss up an Ogerpon, or yeah, just boss up an Ogerpon and then knock it out that way. Because there's not really a good way for me to get damage onto my what's it called? Onto my other onto the Squawkabilly, right? Because I'd have to find a way to knock it out. So, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and try to stall out the opponent here. If my opponent has any way of getting a fighting energy into play here, like, you know, another Professor Sana's, then they can attach to the Raging Bolt and just knock it out. Whereas, I think they're actually out of possible options for getting Grass Energy into play onto the Ogerpon specifically, which is why I'm going for this line instead, even though it seems really sketchy. I know a boss, which really isn't going to change much, and they just have no cards in their deck. So, you know, it's really do they have the energy or not? And looking at what they have available to them, it just seems extremely rough, and they, you know, lose the game. Anyways, I got the Arceus after that. But, you know, it was fun. Deck is cool. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment down below, and subscribe. If you comment down below on this video, or one of my other videos this week, as well as on my community posts, you'll have a chance to enter into the raffle for the shiny EUIC from Paul Day and Fates. And yeah, other than that, have a good day, and I'll see you guys